Fear is a shadow that looms large over the human heart, distorting our perceptions and confining our actions. It is a universal experience, one that each of us must face in our own way. Yet, in understanding the nature of fear, we begin to see it for what it truly is, a phantom, a trick of the mind that grows only in the dark corners of our imagination. Our minds are powerful tools capable of creating worlds within worlds, but when left unchecked, this power can turn against us, transforming the smallest of worries into insurmountable mountains. Fear feeds on our imagination, crafting elaborate scenarios that often bear little resemblance to reality. It whispers lies, telling us that we are too weak, too small, too insignificant to overcome the challenges before us. But there is a way to see through these illusions. It lies in the balance of faith and reason. Faith, not as blind optimism, but as a deep-seated trust in a greater order, in a purpose beyond the immediate. Reason, not as cold logic, but as the clear-sightedness that allows us to evaluate our fears in the light of truth. Together, they form a lens through which we can view our fears and recognize them for the shadows they are. Courage, then, is not the absence of fear, but the willful decision to act in spite of it. It is a moral responsibility, a duty we owe not just to ourselves, but to the world around us. For each act of courage is a beacon, lighting the way for others who are trapped in the same darkness. Yet, to face our fears is not merely to endure them, it is to grow through them. Each confrontation with fear strengthens the soul, expanding the boundaries of our inner world. It is through this process that we evolve, becoming more than we were, closer to the selves we are meant to be. And what is the force that ultimately dispels fear? It is love. Love, in its truest form, casts out fear, for it is selfless, boundless, and invincible. It lifts us beyond the confines of our fears, allowing us to see the world as it truly is, full of possibilities, full of hope. Fear is a fundamental aspect of the human experience, an emotion that is ancient as life itself. It is embedded deep within our psyche, a remnant of our evolutionary past when survival depended on the ability to recognize and respond to threats. Yet, despite its origins as a protective mechanism, fear often transcends its purpose, becoming a force that distorts our perception of reality and limits our potential. In its most basic form, fear serves as an alarm system, alerting us to danger and triggering the fight or flight response. This response, governed by the amygdala, is an automatic reaction to perceived threats, designed to prepare the body for immediate action. In moments of genuine danger, this response is invaluable. It sharpens our senses, heightens our awareness, and gives us the strength to either confront the threat or escape from it. However, in the complex and nuanced world we live in today, this primitive response is often misdirected. The threats we face are no longer limited to physical dangers. They now include social, emotional, and psychological challenges that do not require such drastic measures. Yet the fear response persists, often triggered by situations that do not warrant such an intense reaction. This misalignment between the nature of fear and the context in which it arises can lead to significant distortions in how we perceive the world around us. Fear has a way of magnifying threats, making them appear larger and more menacing than they truly are. It thrives on uncertainty, filling in the gaps of the unknown with worst-case scenarios. In this way, fear creates a reality that is skewed, a world where dangers loom large and possibilities shrink. One of the most insidious effects of fear is its ability to paralyze. When fear takes hold, it often stops us in our tracks, preventing us from moving forward or taking necessary risks. This paralysis can manifest in various ways: hesitation, procrastination, avoidance, all of which serve to keep us within the confines of our comfort zones. But these comfort zones, far from being safe havens, are often prisons of our own making. They limit our growth, stifle our creativity, and prevent us from reaching our full potential. Fear also has a remarkable ability to feed on itself. The more we give in to fear, the stronger it becomes. Each time we avoid a challenge or back down from a confrontation, we reinforce the belief that we are incapable of handling the situation. This, in turn, increases our fear the next time we are faced with a similar challenge. It is a vicious cycle, one that can only be broken by confronting the fear head-on. But to do so requires more than just courage. It requires an understanding of the nature of fear itself. Fear, at its core, is often a product of our imagination. It is the mind's way of creating a narrative around a perceived threat, a story that we tell ourselves about what might happen if we face the challenge before us. This narrative is rarely grounded in reality. More often than not, it is a collection of fears, anxieties, and insecurities that we have accumulated over time, each one adding to the weight of the story we carry. To understand fear is to recognize it as a storyteller, one that we have the power to rewrite. When we strip fear of its narrative, we begin to see it for what it truly is: a feeling, a sensation in the body, a thought in the mind. It is not an absolute truth, nor is it an accurate reflection of reality. It is, instead, a temporary state, one that will pass if we allow it to do so. In this way, fear becomes less of an obstacle and more of a guide. It points us toward the areas of our lives where growth is needed, where we are being called to step out of our comfort zones and into the unknown. It challenges us to question the stories we tell ourselves, to separate fact from fiction, and to act in spite of the uncertainty we feel. When we understand fear in this light, we begin to reclaim our power over it. We learn to see it not as an enemy to be vanquished, but as a part of ourselves that needs to be understood and integrated. Fear will always be a part of our lives, but it does not have to control us. By acknowledging it, facing it, and ultimately embracing it, we can move beyond its distortions and step into a reality that is not defined by our fears, but by our courage to confront them. The power of the imagination is one of the most remarkable aspects of the human mind. It is through imagination that we create, innovate, and dream. We build entire worlds within our minds, envisioning possibilities that do not yet exist and exploring scenarios that stretch the boundaries of reality. However, this same imaginative power, when influenced by fear, can become a double-edged sword. Instead of opening up new horizons, it can trap us in a web of illusions that distort our perception of the world around us. Fear, more than any other emotion, thrives on imagination. It takes root in the fertile ground of our creative minds and uses our imaginative faculties to construct elaborate scenarios of danger, failure, and despair. These scenarios often bear little resemblance to reality, yet they can feel incredibly real, compelling us to react as if they were true. The human mind, in its capacity to project future outcomes, becomes a theater where fear plays out its darkest dramas, casting shadows that obscure the light of reason. Consider, for instance, the fear of failure. This fear is rarely based on actual experiences or concrete evidence. Instead, it is fueled by the imagination. We imagine the worst possible outcomes: public humiliation, personal disappointment, the loss of respect or opportunities. These imagined consequences often loom so large in our minds that they become indistinguishable from reality. We begin to believe that failure is not just a possibility, but an inevitable result of our actions, leading us to avoid taking risks or pursuing our goals. In the grip of fear, the imagination becomes a powerful engine of self-deception. It magnifies uncertainties and transforms them into insurmountable obstacles. It conjures up images of rejection, ridicule, and ruin, each one more vivid than the last. The mind becomes a hall of mirrors, reflecting back distorted versions of reality, each more terrifying than the one before. In this state, even the smallest challenge can appear as an overwhelming threat, and we find ourselves paralyzed by fear, unable to move forward. Yet, the imagination is not inherently negative. It is, in fact, one of our greatest gifts. The same imaginative power that fear exploits can also be harnessed to overcome fear. The key lies in understanding how our imagination works and learning to direct it in ways that empower us rather than hold us captive. One of the first steps in reclaiming our imagination from the grip of fear is to recognize that the scenarios it creates are not real. They are stories, narratives that we have constructed in our minds based on our fears and anxieties. By acknowledging this, we can begin to challenge these narratives and question their validity. We can ask ourselves, is this scenario likely to happen? What evidence do I have that it will? What other possibilities exist that I might be overlooking? In doing so, we engage our reason alongside our imagination. Reason serves as a counterbalance to the flights of fancy that fear often induces. It grounds us in reality, reminding us that while the future is uncertain, it is not predetermined by our fears. By bringing reason into the equation, we can begin to dismantle the exaggerated fears that our imagination has constructed, replacing them with more balanced and realistic assessments of the situations we face. Moreover, we can use our imagination to envision positive outcomes instead of negative ones. Just as fear can create images of failure, our imagination can also be used to picture success, growth, and fulfillment. By consciously directing our imaginative powers towards these positive possibilities, we begin to shift our focus from what could go wrong to what could go right. This shift in perspective is crucial, for it not only reduces the power of fear, but also opens up new avenues for action and exploration. When we imagine ourselves succeeding, overcoming obstacles, and achieving our goals, we create a mental framework that supports these outcomes. This mental framework, in turn, influences our actions, making us more likely to take the necessary steps to bring our visions to life. It fosters a sense of confidence and determination, qualities that are essential for overcoming fear and achieving success. In this way, the imagination becomes a tool for empowerment rather than a weapon of fear. It transforms from a source of anxiety into a wellspring of creativity and possibility. By taking control of our imaginative faculties, we can break free from the illusions that fear creates and step into a reality that is shaped not by our fears but by our aspirations and dreams. The power of the imagination lies in its versatility. It can be a force for fear or a force for courage, depending on how we choose to use it. When we understand this, we gain the ability to direct our imagination in ways that uplift us, rather than drag us down. We learn to see beyond the shadows of fear and to envision a future that is bright with potential. In doing so, we unlock the true power of the imagination, a power that can help us conquer our fears and achieve the extraordinary. Faith and reason are often viewed as opposing forces, as though one must choose between believing without evidence or relying solely on logic and empirical data. However, this dichotomy is misleading. In truth, faith and reason are complementary, each enhancing the other, especially when it comes to overcoming fear. Together, they provide a balanced perspective that enables us to confront the fears that hold us back, guiding us through the uncertainties of life with clarity and conviction. At the heart of fear lies uncertainty. We fear what we do not know or cannot predict, and this fear grows when our imagination, unfed by reason, conjures up worst-case scenarios. It is in these moments that faith becomes essential. But faith, in this context, is not about blind belief or wishful thinking. It is about cultivating a deep-seated trust in something greater than our immediate understanding, a trust that there is an order, a purpose, or a higher power that governs the universe, even when we cannot see it. This kind of faith provides a foundation upon which to stand when the ground beneath us seems to shift. It offers a sense of stability in the face of uncertainty, reminding us that there is more to life than what meets the eye. Faith encourages us to look beyond the immediate and the tangible, to recognize that there are forces at work in the world that we may not fully understand, but which nonetheless contribute to the unfolding of our lives. This perspective can be deeply reassuring when fear threatens to overwhelm us. However, faith alone is not enough. Without reason, faith can become ungrounded, leading to superstition or irrationality. Reason, therefore, plays a crucial role in balancing faith, ensuring that our beliefs are not based solely on emotion or fear. Reason allows us to analyze our fears, to break them down into their component parts, and to assess their validity. It helps us to distinguish between real threats and imagined ones, enabling us to respond to challenges in a thoughtful and measured way. For instance, when faced with a fearful situation, reason encourages us to ask critical questions. What exactly am I afraid of? What evidence do I have that this fear is justified? What are the possible outcomes, and how likely are they? By engaging with these questions, we can begin to see our fears in a new light. Often what we fear is not as threatening as it initially seems. It is our perception of the situation, distorted by anxiety, that makes it appear so. And this is where faith and reason intersect. Reason helps us to clarify our fears, to strip away the exaggerations and distortions that our minds create. Faith, meanwhile, provides the courage to face these fears even when the path ahead is unclear. It gives us the confidence to take action despite the uncertainties, trusting that, in doing so, we are aligning ourselves with a greater purpose or plan. Moreover, faith can inspire reason. When we trust in a higher order, we are more inclined to seek out knowledge and understanding, knowing that truth is not something to be feared, but embraced. This pursuit of truth, driven by faith, leads to greater wisdom and insight, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with both clarity and conviction. Conversely, reason can strengthen faith. As we engage with the world through critical thinking and analysis, we begin to see patterns and connections that reinforce our belief in a purposeful universe. Reason reveals the intricate design of nature, the laws that govern existence, and the subtle ways in which even the most difficult experiences can lead to growth and understanding. This recognition deepens our faith, making it more resilient and informed. When faith and reason work together, they create a powerful synergy that enables us to confront fear in a holistic way. We are not merely reacting to our fears, but understanding them, seeing them for what they truly are. This understanding allows us to respond with wisdom and courage, rather than panic or avoidance. For example, consider someone who fears public speaking. Faith in their ability to grow and learn provides the motivation to face this fear, while reason helps them to prepare, practice, and understand the factors that contribute to their anxiety. Together, faith and reason create a pathway to overcoming the fear, transforming it from an obstacle into an opportunity for personal development. In this way, faith and reason are not opposing forces but partners in the journey of life. Faith without reason can lead to misguided actions, while reason without faith can result in a cold, overly cautious approach to life. But when combined, they empower us to face our fears with both clarity and confidence, knowing that we are supported by both the truths we understand and the deeper truths we trust in. The balance of faith and reason offers a profound approach to fear. It teaches us that fear, while a natural part of the human experience, need not control us. Through reason, we can demystify our fears and respond to them appropriately. Through faith, we find the strength to act, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Together, they enable us to move forward with courage, wisdom, and a deep sense of purpose, no matter what fears we may encounter along the way. Courage is often celebrated as a heroic quality, a virtue reserved for those who perform extraordinary feats in the face of danger. However, true courage is not limited to acts of heroism. It is a fundamental aspect of moral responsibility, a duty that each of us is called to fulfill in our daily lives. Courage is not just an emotion that arises in moments of crisis. It is a deliberate choice, a commitment to doing what is right, even when it is difficult or frightening. Understanding courage as a moral duty reshapes our perspective on fear and action. Revealing that courage is essential, not only for overcoming challenges, but also for living a life of integrity and purpose. At its core, courage is the willingness to act in the face of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite the risks and uncertainties that lie ahead. This willingness is not a spontaneous or irrational impulse. It is a conscious choice rooted in a sense of moral responsibility. When we act courageously, we are not merely responding to fear. We are affirming our commitment to principles and values that transcend our immediate emotions. Courage, therefore, is not just about bravery in the face of danger. It is about staying true to our convictions, even when doing so requires us to confront our deepest fears. Moral responsibility and courage are intimately connected. Every day we are faced with decisions that test our character and challenge our resolve. These decisions often involve a conflict between what is easy and what is right, between the path of least resistance and the path of integrity. It is in these moments that courage becomes a moral duty. To act with courage is to choose the path of integrity, to do what we know to be right, even when it is difficult, unpopular, or risky. For example, consider the courage required to stand up for what is just in the face of injustice. This might involve speaking out against a wrong when others remain silent, or taking a stand for those who cannot defend themselves. Such actions often come with significant personal risks, social ostracism, professional repercussions, or even physical danger. Yet the moral responsibility to uphold justice compels us to act, despite these risks. In this sense, courage is not just about confronting external threats, it is about overcoming the internal resistance that arises when we are faced with difficult choices. It is about refusing to be paralyzed by fear, and instead choosing to act in accordance with our principles. Courage as a moral duty also extends to the responsibility we have towards ourselves. It takes courage to be honest with ourselves, to confront our own weaknesses, and to acknowledge the areas in our lives where we need to grow. This kind of courage is not about dramatic actions or public displays of bravery. It is about the quiet, often painful work of self-reflection and personal growth. It is about having the courage to face our own flaws and limitations, and the moral responsibility to strive for self-improvement, even when it is uncomfortable or challenging. In this way, courage is not merely an external act, but an internal process. It requires us to engage with our fears, to understand them, and to choose to act in spite of them. This internal courage is what enables us to navigate the complexities of life with integrity and purpose. It is what allows us to remain steadfast in our convictions, even when the world around us is uncertain or hostile. Moreover, courage as a moral duty is not only about individual action, it is also about the impact we have on others. Our courageous actions can inspire and encourage those around us, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond our immediate circumstances. When we act with courage, we demonstrate to others that it is possible to confront fear and overcome it. We show that moral responsibility is not just a personal obligation, but a shared commitment to the greater good. In this way, courage becomes a force for positive change, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of others as well. However, it is important to recognize that courage does not mean the absence of fear. On the contrary, courage exists because of fear. It is the presence of fear that gives us the opportunity to be courageous, to rise above our fears and act in accordance with our values. Without fear, there would be no need for courage. Thus, the experience of fear is not something to be ashamed of or avoided. It is an integral part of the human experience, one that provides us with the chance to grow and develop as moral beings. Courage as a moral duty is about living a life of integrity. It is about making choices that are aligned with our deepest values, even when those choices are difficult or frightening. It is about recognizing that we have a responsibility to ourselves and to others to act with courage, to confront fear, and to live in a way that is true to who we are. In this sense, courage is not just a virtue to be admired, it is a fundamental aspect of what it means to be human. It is the foundation upon which we build a life of purpose, integrity, and fulfillment. Overcoming fear is often seen as an isolated battle, something we must face alone. However, this view overlooks the immense power of community. Humans are inherently social beings, and our relationships with others can play a crucial role in helping us conquer our fears. When we recognize the value of community, we open ourselves up to the support, encouragement, and wisdom that others can offer. Community is not just a backdrop to our individual struggles, it is an active force that can provide the strength and courage needed to face our fears head-on. Fear thrives in isolation. When we are alone, our fears can seem insurmountable. They grow in the dark corners of our minds, magnified by the absence of external perspectives and support. In isolation, we often feel that we are the only ones experiencing fear, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy or shame. These emotions further compound the fear, making it even harder to overcome. But when we connect with others, we realize that fear is a universal experience. Everyone at some point has faced fear in one form or another. By sharing our fears with others, we not only lighten our own burden, but also create a space where others feel safe to share theirs. This mutual sharing can be incredibly liberating. It breaks the illusion of isolation and fosters a sense of solidarity that can be profoundly empowering. Community provides a support system that can help us navigate through fear. This support can come in many forms: emotional encouragement, practical advice, or simply the comfort of knowing that we are not alone. When we face fear with others by our side, we gain access to a wealth of experiences and insights that can help us see our situation from different angles. Someone who has faced a similar fear may offer a perspective or strategy that we hadn't considered. Their success in overcoming that fear can serve as a beacon of hope, showing us that it is possible to emerge victorious. Moreover, community can hold us accountable. When we share our fears and goals with others, we create a sense of commitment to follow through. It's one thing to privately acknowledge a fear and resolve to overcome it, but it's another to publicly commit to facing it. This accountability can be a powerful motivator. Knowing that others are aware of our struggles and are rooting for our success can give us the push we need to take action, even when we're tempted to retreat. This kind of accountability is not about pressure or judgment, it's about mutual encouragement and the shared desire for growth. The strength of community also lies in its ability to provide a sense of belonging. Fear often isolates us, making us feel disconnected from others. But when we engage with a supportive community, we reestablish those connections. We realize that we are part of something larger than ourselves, and this sense of belonging can be a source of immense strength. It reminds us that we are not facing our fears in a vacuum, but we are part of a collective journey. This shared journey can make our individual fears seem less daunting, as we recognize that others are walking similar paths. In addition to offering support, community can also inspire us to be courageous. When we see others facing their fears and taking bold steps forward, it can ignite a spark within us. Courage is contagious. Witnessing acts of bravery, whether they are grand gestures or quiet, everyday acts can encourage us to find the courage within ourselves. We are often more willing to take risks and confront our fears when we know that others have done the same and come out stronger on the other side. This inspiration can come from direct interactions with others, but it can also be drawn from stories, examples, and even the collective memory of a community that values courage. Furthermore, community offers a space for growth and learning. Through our interactions with others, we gain insights into different ways of thinking and approaching challenges. We learn from the experiences of those who have faced their fears and come through them with new wisdom. This learning process is not just about acquiring knowledge, it's about internalizing the idea that fear is a natural part of life, and that overcoming it is a process that we can all engage in with the help of others. This collective learning fosters resilience, as we come to see that fear is not a dead end, but a doorway to greater understanding and strength. However, it's important to note that not all communities are equally supportive. The quality of the community we choose to engage with is crucial. A positive, encouraging community can uplift us and help us face our fears, while a negative or unsupportive community can do the opposite. Therefore, it's essential to seek out communities that align with our values and goals, communities that encourage growth, understanding, and mutual support. The power of community in overcoming fear lies in its ability to transform our experience of fear from a solitary struggle into a shared journey. When we embrace the support, accountability, inspiration, and wisdom that others offer, we find that we are not as vulnerable or isolated as we might have thought. Instead, we become part of a collective strength, a network of courage that can help us face our fears and emerge stronger on the other side. In this way, community is not just a support system, it is a catalyst for personal transformation, enabling us to face our fears with the confidence that we are not alone. One of the most significant aspects of overcoming fear is recognizing that it often serves as a barrier to growth and fulfillment. Fear, by its very nature, is restrictive. It binds us to our comfort zones, keeping us from exploring new opportunities, taking risks, or pursuing our true passions. However, the key to personal and professional growth lies in confronting and moving beyond these fears. By doing so, we not only overcome the obstacles in our path, but also unlock new possibilities and potentials within ourselves. Embracing the challenges that come with fear is essential for growth and fulfillment, as it pushes us beyond our perceived limits and helps us to realize our true capabilities. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, and in many ways it is a protective mechanism. It keeps us from engaging in dangerous activities and prompts us to be cautious in unfamiliar situations. However, this protective instinct can also be overactive, causing us to shy away from challenges that are essential for our growth. When we allow fear to dictate our actions, we limit ourselves to what is familiar and safe, avoiding anything that might bring discomfort or uncertainty. This avoidance, while it may provide temporary relief, ultimately stifles our potential and prevents us from achieving our goals. The first step in using fear as a tool for growth is to understand its nature. Fear often arises from a perceived threat, whether it be the fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. These threats are not always grounded in reality. They are often exaggerated by our minds, which focus on the worst possible outcomes. By recognizing that fear is often a product of our imagination, we can begin to challenge its hold over us. Instead of accepting fear as an insurmountable obstacle, we can view it as an opportunity to grow, an indication that we are stepping outside our comfort zone and into new territory. Confronting fear requires courage, but it also requires a shift in mindset. Rather than seeing fear as something to be avoided, we can learn to embrace it as a natural part of the growth process. Growth, by its very nature, involves stepping into the unknown and taking risks. It is through these experiences that we learn, adapt, and ultimately become stronger. When we face our fears head-on, we push the boundaries of what we thought was possible. We discover new strengths, develop new skills, and gain confidence in our ability to navigate challenges. For example, consider someone who fears public speaking. This fear may prevent them from sharing their ideas, advancing in their career, or making a meaningful impact on others. However, by confronting this fear, whether through practice, seeking support, or gradually exposing themselves to speaking opportunities, they begin to build confidence and competence. Over time, what was once a source of anxiety becomes a strength. The individual not only overcomes their fear, but also grows as a communicator and leader. This growth would not have been possible without the initial decision to face the fear and push beyond it. Moreover, overcoming fear often leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment. When we conquer a fear, we are rewarded with a sense of accomplishment and empowerment. This sense of fulfillment comes not just from the achievement itself, but from the knowledge that we have grown as individuals. We have expanded our horizons, taken control of our lives, and proven to ourselves that we are capable of more than we initially believed. This newfound confidence can then be applied to other areas of our lives, leading to further growth and fulfillment. Fear can also act as a guide, pointing us toward areas of our lives that require attention or development. When we feel fear, it is often a signal that we are on the brink of something important, something that, if pursued, could lead to significant growth. Instead of shying away from these feelings, we can learn to interpret them as indicators of where we need to focus our efforts. For instance, the fear of starting a new project might indicate a need to develop new skills or build resilience. By addressing these underlying issues, we not only overcome the fear, but also enhance our overall capability and readiness to face future challenges. However, it is important to approach fear with a balanced perspective. Not all fears are meant to be conquered at once, and not all risks are worth taking. Part of using fear as a tool for growth involves discerning which fears are holding us back and which are valid concerns that require careful consideration. This discernment allows us to take calculated risks, those that challenge us without putting us in unnecessary danger. By gradually exposing ourselves to fears that are manageable, we build resilience and confidence, preparing ourselves for larger challenges in the future. The process of overcoming fear is integral to living a fulfilling life. It is through facing and overcoming our fears that we grow, both personally and professionally. Each time we confront a fear, we chip away at the limitations that hold us back, revealing new opportunities and possibilities. This ongoing process of growth leads to a richer, more fulfilling life, one that is not dictated by fear, but by the pursuit of our true potential. Fear is not an enemy to be avoided, but a guide that can lead us to greater growth and fulfillment. By recognizing fear as an opportunity for development, we can confront it with courage and determination, pushing beyond our comfort zones and unlocking our true potential. In doing so, we not only overcome the obstacles in our path, but also create a life that is richer, more meaningful, and ultimately more fulfilling. In conclusion, the courage to conquer your fears is not merely about overcoming obstacles, but about embracing the opportunities for growth that fear presents. Fear, while often perceived as a barrier, is a natural part of the human experience that challenges us to rise above our limitations. By understanding the nature of fear, balancing faith with reason, recognizing courage as a moral duty, and harnessing the power of community, we can transform fear into a catalyst for personal and collective growth. Through this process, we discover new strengths, deepen our sense of purpose, and ultimately lead more fulfilling lives. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to move forward despite it, knowing that each step we take brings us closer to realizing our true potential. Embrace your fears, for within them lies the path to your greatest achievements